Hello, everyone. Welcome to a higher dimension. I'm Gloria Danvers from Gloria Danvers Hypnosis, and I'm your host for this podcast. You know, I think all spiritual people enjoy memes. I know I do, and I enjoy making them. It's like I'm just going about my business, and all of a sudden I have this really metaphysical epiphany, and I want to share it. So I make a meme, and that's my way of getting my message to hopefully thousands of people. And each one of those people is going to interpret that in a way that's particularly meaningful for them. So a few years ago, I made a meme from my hypnosis page that said, "All the changes you want to see in the world begin with you. You are the rock, the ripple, and the pond." Each person who read it could interpret it in the way that felt most impactful for them. But recently I started thinking about that statement again, mostly because I recycled that meme, and I realized that there was a lot more inside of it than just 3 lines. So this is my interpretation. We often hear that we should be the change that we want to see in the world. And that's a beautiful thought. And it's a big thought. Where do we begin? How do we begin? A lot of us think that if we help other people, that maybe that's the same thing as being the change. But it isn't. The world is complicated. It's filled with people, systems, beliefs, wounds, and histories that we have little to no control over. So when I say change begins with you, I'm not saying that you're responsible for fixing the world. I'm saying that every change in your experience begins by changing the inner field from which you experience it. That field is your energetic subconscious, or, in other words, the pond. The pond holds your beliefs, your expectations, your emotional associations, memories, protective patterns, and your automatic responses. Now, some of those beliefs were formed consciously, but most were not. There are some that came from childhood, from the way people treated you. Some came from what you had to become in order to feel safe, loved, accepted, and included. And some came from the things you heard so often that they became part of the background noise of your mind. Like, "You're crazy." That was one I used to get a lot. And if you hear that enough, you start to think that you are. And that's just another thing that's muddying up the pond. That pond is your inner environment. And then there's the rock. The rock is a point of intention, choice, movement, and change. It is the thing that has no energy of its own until energy is applied. And what is this energy that we apply to the rock? It might be a boundary, a new way of seeing yourself. It could be the decision to stop repeating an old story. Because the realization should be, I don't have to carry this. I don't need to stand still and hold all of this. And I certainly don't need to carry this pain into every new experience. That's the rock. And then comes the ripple. The ripple is everything that begins to move because of that. It moves through your emotions, your expectations, your behavior, and your body language. And ultimately, your choices. It changes what you notice and what you allow, what you question and what you believe is possible. And because you begin to change, your experience of reality begins to change also. Other people are still other people. They have their own minds and their own choices and their own wounds. But you, when your inner field changes, your participation in life changes. Your reality is not only what happens around you. Your reality is literally the sheet of paper that you are writing your life on. It's the meaning that you give to what happens. It's what you expect. what you focus on, what you believe that you deserve, whether you speak up or remain silent, whether you stay, leave, go, ask, refuse, reach, withdraw, or choose differently. The subconscious influences all of that. So when you place something new into your own field, the ripple may change much more than you first realize. Let's say that somewhere in your subconscious there's an old belief that says, I have to prove my worth. It may cause you to measure yourself by what you produce and how much you accomplish, or even how much people need you. It may make you take on responsibilities that simply don't belong to you. That belief is part of the pond. Then one day, you place a different thought in the field, and the rock is this: I don't have to earn my worth in this world. Your subconscious may not immediately accept it. There are some deep roots there that have your perceived evidence attached to them. In fact, they may have even protected you once. But now, the rock has entered the pond. And the ripple begins. Now, you find that you can say no when you used to say yes. You begin to wonder, what the hell am I apologizing for? And you can go down that road. You can intentionally explore what you used to do automatically. And best of all, you'll know all the way down to the bottom of your pond that you are enough just the way you are. And so, those are ripples. Those are ripples in the pond of your subconscious. And as those ripples continue, other people will begin responding to you differently. You aren't controlling their perception. That's because they are feeling a shift in your energy. They are feeling the movement. And because they are feeling your movement, they are shifting their own energy to meet this new energy that you now embody. And one of two things will happen. Either they will shift their energy to meet your new energy, or they will fall out of your energetic field, because they have their own rocks and their own ripples. Because now you're being the energy and change that you want to see in the world. And this is what is moving through you. The ripple is not only what moves outward, it transforms the entire pond. It stirs up the sediment, if you will, where beliefs and emotions and associations and automatic responses live. It disturbs them, it moves them, and in many cases, removes them. Conscious understanding is important, but your conscious mind is completely fed by the subconscious, and understanding something doesn't always change what happens automatically. The conscious mind may understand one thing, while the deeper field is still organizing around something else. So when we place a new intention into the subconscious, we're not simply thinking positively. We are introducing a new possibility. And it is not passive. It begins to move through your system, and it changes everything it touches. One rock creates a ripple. Sometimes change is the freedom to believe in something new. And that creates another rock, which creates another ripple, another moment of choosing differently. So the pond begins to hold a new pattern. And eventually, what once felt difficult may begin to feel natural. And then, we really are on the way to being the change that we want to see in the world. And this is why we should be mindful of what we repeatedly place in our own field. So you could ask yourself, what am I dropping into my pond every day? Because we often speak to ourselves as though words disappear. but they don't. The subconscious is listening to your language. It's watching the images that you create in your mind. And also, and this is important, for better or for worse, notices what you expect. Not what you want, but what you expect. And then it begins organizing your perception and behavior around those expectations. And many times, those expectations revolve around other people. So begin to look at what you're putting out, because whatever you are putting out that is directed at someone else's field is still finding its way back into your pond. You are more affected by what you direct to someone else than they are, because that too is a rock that makes a ripple. This doesn't mean that you should deny reality. It doesn't mean pretending everything is wonderful when it's not. And it doesn't mean shaming yourself for having a painful or angry thought. Because this pond is not meant to be perfectly still. The goal is not to become afraid of your own movement. The goal is to become more conscious of what you continually reinforce. The goal is to understand that you have always been the creator of your own reality, whether your energy is directed inwardly or outwardly, and that the world can't move on unless you do, because your outer world will reflect what your inner world has created. So maybe the question is not only, what am I changing in my life with every thought and action? Maybe the deeper question is, what am I continually placing into the field from which I experience my life? Because if you want peace, are you repeatedly reinforcing chaos? If you want love, are you rewinding old betrayals over and over? If you want confidence, are you reviewing every mistake? And even worse, not celebrating the wins? And most of all, if you want freedom, are you still speaking to yourself in the language of limitation? You're always participating in the creation of your inner reality, even when you don't realize it. The question is whether you want to participate consciously. And the beautiful thing about the rock, the ripple, and the pond is that you are all three. You are not only the one making the choice, you are also the field receiving it. You are the movement that follows, and you are the intention and the response. You are the consciousness being changed. Your subconscious is not your enemy. Many of your patterns no longer serve you, that's true, but they weren't created because something was wrong with you. They were created because some part of you was trying to manage life with the understanding and resources that were available at the time. So when you place a new rock into the pond, you don't have to attack the old pattern. You let the new ripple be the one that influences the life that you want to live. And there is grace and compassion in that. And grace and compassion often change the field in a way that force just simply can't. So think for a moment about one change that you would like to experience. Not a change you think you should want, but something true. Now, ask yourself, what is the rock? Whatever that is. The right rock is not necessarily the most beautiful sentence. It is the sentence that creates movement. And then ask, what would that first ripple look like? Well, maybe it would mean saying no and speaking to yourself differently. The ripple doesn't have to reach the edge of the pond today. None of this has to be instant. It only has to begin. And as it begins, your field changes. The way you see yourself changes, and the way you meet the world, that changes too. And because you meet the world differently, the world around you responds differently too. As I like to say in my sessions, something has changed. Something has shifted. Something is not as it was. So yes, it is true. All the change that you want to see in the world begin with you. Not because you are responsible for everything, but because you are the place from which your experience of everything begins. You are the rock, the intention, the choice. You are the ripple, that movement created by that choice. And you are the pond, the deeper field receiving, reflecting, and reshaping itself around what you continue to place in it. So be gentle with the pond. Be conscious of the rocks that you throw in. And remember that even a small intention, placed clearly and repeated with love for yourself, can change the entire pattern of the water. You are the rock and the ripple and the pond. And if you're feeling that, if you're knowing that, if you can resonate with that, then the change has already begun. Thanks for joining me today on A Higher Dimension. If you're interested in what I do and would like to work with me, go to my website, gloriadanvershypnosis.com, and book a free consultation. Let's talk about the way that you would like to see your life change. And until then, I'll see you in a few weeks. Don't worry about your separateness. Revel in your oneness. Bye.